As I mentioned in my introduction, you referred to it as well in your responses this morning. Yesterday, the United National Congress celebrated 35 years as a political institution. The opposition leader mentioned that some MPs broke beach and did not vote, even commenting on those who didn't vote in a seat which they were given. So it ties back to a certain extent to what your colleague MP Padarath would have mentioned. What does this speak about? How does this reflect about the unity within the party, even given the fact that the opposition leader has indicated we're working on this thing internally, we are dealing with it?
Again, the confusion continues. The initial commentary is that the internal matters will be settled internally. And then in what can only be described as a show for the press yesterday, you had this question of what occurred in Parliament on Friday. And I found the comments to be very duplicitous and intentionally divisive. What you would have had is that, for myself, I sought the leave of the Parliament to be absent on Friday. That is part of the parliamentary record. So that when Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar said all 19 MPs were present, from the beginning of the sitting, I was not going to be there. And a simple phone call, a simple message as to why I could have explained why I would not be there, because it was personal matters. And I have no issue with that. My fellow colleagues, what I understand is that none of them were informed that there would be, so private members' day adjourns at 6 p.m. On every private members' day, the House adjourns at 6 p.m. No matter where you are in the debate, the leader of government business in the House will adjourn the House at 6 p.m. It is in our standing orders, it is clear. By agreement with the Chief Whip, you can extend private members' day to allow for some business of the House to take place. So if my colleagues were not informed that there would be such an extension for a matter to be debated, you would leave by 6 p.m. because that is when the House would be adjourned. And so you now get into this space of suggesting to UNC membership, suggesting to the public that if the members of Parliament were present, that we could have won the vote in the House. It's a simple majority vote. Let's be very honest. The only way to ensure that you can have a parliamentary advantage is to win general elections, because a party with the advantages in Parliament is the party that holds the majority of seats in the House of Representatives. That is the PNM. So if the idea that the vote would have been deadlocked and that the Speaker, the government simply would just simply adjourn the House until one of their members comes in or all of their members come in, to ensure that, because their majority is inbuilt. And that's why I said the comments are duplicitous and intentionally divisive. And it also shows a question of whether or not you are conducting your caucus effectively. If you are intending on granting the leave, so private members, they belongs to the opposition. If you are intending on granting leave to the government to extend private members' day, it's a simple matter of informing all your members. And I'm sure all my colleagues who were present on that day would have remained there. And why I say it is duplicitous and divisive is that the week before, there was a special majority vote in the House. A special majority vote which the PNM needed the support of opposition members if it were to be passed on the issue of the Commissioner of Police. And the PNM, every member of the United National Congress voted in line with the whip. And so if you had that the week before, the suggestion now that the week after on a simple majority bill, that the presence would have been either it is an unawareness of the parliamentary process, which I find difficult to believe given the extent of time that Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar has been in Parliament, or it is intentionally divisive and it is just plain propaganda. And what the United National Congress needs now is the assurance that we can conduct ourselves with dignity and decency during our internal processes, that we are understanding that the option we have now is to build our party, it's to strengthen our institutions, and stop taking every single call as a direct attack. It could only be an attack if your interest is not in building the organization. You will only feel attacked if you were never interested in building the organization ahead of the general election.
Do you